But let's talk about colleges. I want to talk about this story we got here from Daily Mail. University of California, Santa Barbara's Black Student Union holds free Black Panther Wakanda Forever screening, but asks white students not to attend. Yes, this is what they mean by diversity. Racial segregation. So there's another article from the Philadelphia Inquirer that was talking about, the writer was Mexican, and he was saying how, he didn't understand Black Panther and what it meant for the Black community, seeing an African country that wasn't devastated by colonization. And then he was like, and then I saw Namor and Talokan in Wakanda Forever. And then I started to understand. And I'm just thinking, like, these woke people, their view of what is good in terms of racial ideology is stereotypes of races, totally segregated and fighting with each other. That was the craziest thing. Like, Black Panther, have you seen it?
Oh, hell no.
Well, why not?
Thank you.
Why not?
I love comic books. I like Namor, by the way, so I have no interest in...
Namor.
Is that how it's pronounced now?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Namor.
well, not for my entire life of reading Marvel Comics, but whatever.
I don't think I'm supposed to roll the R, but...
Well, I don't know. They've changed it. And so, exactly, my character's got a I'm Not Daredevil shirt, which is not from a particularly good run on Daredevil by Mark Waid, but I have no interest in modern comics because they have no interest in me.
But what don't you like about Black Panther?
I thought the first movie was okay.
Yeah.
But
it was crazy.
Yeah, it was a good. It was a good movie, but I don't watch any of this stuff anymore.
Was a Wakanda first, closed
right,
borders,
which was bizarre that they did make him a Wakanda nationalist.
I'm gonna spoil it. I mean, I've already spoiled it a million times, but you see, this is judging a book by its cover. Mm-hmm. Wakanda Forever, the point I'm making about how racist this is a movie quite literally about the most powerful nation on earth, so says Queen Ramonda, with a powerful barrier around their country that no one can breach, and a Mexican guy breaks in by crossing a river.
Oh, I watched your video about it earlier, so I've heard some other people talk about it, so I'm aware of what happens in the film.
And they're cheering for it. They're like, this is the greatest movie. And it's funny because we had Dave Landau here, and when we were talking about it before the show, and I explained it's a Mexican guy, and his back, as he climbs out of the river, is wet. And then I said, how do you think they defeat him? And he goes, do they dry him off? And I was like, yes. And he was like, so it's the greatest movie ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Stereotypes are a simple way of understanding the world, and that it's also something called a cognitive heuristic. We all rely on cognitive heuristics as mental shortcuts. So, for example, if you see a stick in the grass, we have evolved to very quickly make a snap judgment to decide if that is a stick in the grass or a snake. It reduces cognitive load to rely upon stereotypes. It literally means you have to think less. You expend less mental energy. So people like stereotypes for that reason. So I think that maybe in some way they're just like, oh, I can turn my brain off even more during this Marvel movie than I usually would because I can just rely upon stereotypes about other people. Now
that we've entertained that, and we talked about it before, I have this story from IndieWire. John Leguizamo calls out non-diverse Super Mario Brothers casting. It's going backwards. For them to go backwards and not cast another actor of color kind of sucks Leguizamo, who starred in the 1993 live-action version of the upcoming animated movie. Let me just explain this very simply. Mario and Luigi are two white plumbers. John Leguizamo is angry that two white guys were cast to play as white plumbers. This is the extent of wokeness in culture.
It sounds like they're making the far-right position or argument that Italians aren't white.
That's what I was thinking too. That's really weird.
It is bizarre.
It's news to the white Italians.
But I've seen that very far right people will say because of
proximity to Africa or something?
Proximity to Africa that Italians aren't really white. If that's what you're saying, then I mean, okay, well, you and Richard Spencer can be buddies. But
here's the thing. You want to know what this is really about? John Leguizamo played Luigi in 1993.
Mm-hmm, right.
And he wants to play Luigi now. It's a big role. It's big money. And he's mad that they're not casting him, so he makes it about race and says it's going backwards. Bro, if the argument is that people should only play characters that are their race, then you should be happy that white actors were cast to play white characters. The concern was when you had black characters voiced by white people. No, apparently now the concern is for the entire time, all these people ever really cared about was empowering themselves and making money.
As the only person of color here in this room, I think every studio should follow Netflix's protocol and make all the characters as diverse as they possibly can, no matter how ridiculous or absurd it is. The memes are absolutely hilarious too. When it comes
the toast
to
meme,
the book says they cut the white bread and it's a piece of black bread. I tweeted that one today too. But yeah, this is just people going crazy. I think this is just something highlighting our mental health decline. I think a lot of people aren't well. I think this is a perfect example of it. And I think this kind of regurgitation of nonsense is just becoming more and more normalized. And there's some woke companies that actually follow these principles, which is absolutely absurd. It's stupid. It's discriminatory. It's racist. It's ridiculous.
I mean, I think part of it is that the implication is that white people are meant to be secondary or replaceable. I think part of it is, to compensate. When I was in college, what I heard regularly was that because white people have traditionally held institutions of power, it's not even that you need to have representation, you need to have overrepresentation to compensate, right? So we can't have white Italian plumbers because they should have always been diverse to make up for the fact. Like, it's such a trap, and at the end of it, you just hear that white culture is not real and fake. Like, I am sure you could get an Italian actor. What was the mayor of LA? He was like, I am diverse because I am Italian. I identify with the Latino community. Like, excuse me, what? Like, there is such an interest in divorcing yourself from Western European culture.
Of course.
If you can grab at some kind of power. And I think that's because we're repeatedly told that it's supposed to be erased. We're not supposed to see it anymore.
Well,
to make up for wrongs from the past.
Yes, and that's where you get the Rachel Dolezals, right? Of gonna essentially, play at a minstrel show because this is how I gain institutional power, by pretending that I'm anything but white.
Like Talcum X.
And Talcum X.
Or
yes.
Luke.
Well, hey, I'm officially recognized. I got the paperwork to prove it, but watch out, Tim.
From where? Where did you get paperwork?
Slavic people are people of color. You know that?
Right, I do, yes.
Listen here, Helen Claire. Don't you challenge
Leroy,
me? Don't
I'm
you
just saying, this is getting great.
Leroy. That's racist.
As completely the non-minority in the room, I'm just going to say it.
You're the whitest person in this room. All right, you should not have a voice here.
I don't know what Serge is doing over there.
You white
Serge is
woman.
African.
That's true.
He's second in line, and I speak first.
As the dominant white voice in this room. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, I think this is this strange white guilt that we see cultivated, that it's like he thinks someone will clap him on the back. He'll get this media write-up because, I don't know, maybe this guy is super relevant. Maybe we hear from him all the time.
Not recently.
Right.
No.
So the only time he surfaces is when he can denounce casting white people. Like, that seems like a weird... Yeah, it seems terrible.
Well, who's going to say anything against him in the mainstream media? Nobody. He'll just get applauded for this.
That's the main issue he worries about. How privileged does he have to be? How lucky does he have to be to live in a world where this is his major issue? This is what he decides to rally behind. There's so much economic inequality. There's so much horrible things happening with our health. There's so much corruption within our political system. There's so many multinational corporations and big banks screwing everyone over. And this is what your main issue is? Come on, man.
I wonder what compelled him to star in The Pest. You ever see that movie?
No, I haven't.
Nobody knows that reference? Mm-mm. Oh, man.
That probably means...
movie buffs.
I would say, to counter your point, though, Luke, just a little bit, media and culture do actually matter, which is why it's cool that you guys are doing so much of what you are doing. And I think that they're aware of that, and that's why he made the comment that he did, because he is aware on some level that media and culture does matter. And so he has to make his... weird virtue signaling statement.
I'm bringing up this movie as kind of a dig against him because, like, if he wants to act out, I'm going to mention that he starred in the film The Pest, which is like a really, really bad late 90s movie that cost $8 million and only made 3.6. So,
what's the plot? Is there one?
Man, I don't remember.
Was it diverse though?
I guess he's like.
Did he take a spot away from my?
Yeah, that is the operative question.
He gets hunted for sport or something?
Because he's white? That would
Well, he's Puerto
I feel
Rican.
like you could make that now.
Today that would be...
The funny thing is, like, apparently there's this issue because he claims he's Puerto Rican, John Leguizamo, but his dad came out, he's like, he's Colombian.
Okay. There was a movie about that I thought that came out about a white family being hunted not that long ago.
There was that, actually it was really good, The Hunt.
Is that it?
Yeah, like everyone thought the movie was explicitly just like conservatives being hunted. But the film was actually a bit more nuanced than that, and actually was pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
The liberals were the bad guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like outright just really stupid and evil, and they end up. I'll spoil it for everybody because
I think it's been out for a few years.
Right.
It's probably okay.
So the trailer made it seem like conservatives get hunted by liberals. You watch the film, the liberals are clearly the villains, and they kidnap incorrectly some woman because they had bad information. So not only were they evil for trying to hunt and kill like middle Americans who just happen to be conservative, the main character happens to have been incorrectly kidnapped and they try murdering her. And then in the end, even though the woman knows, like, whoops, you're trying to kill an innocent person, the liberal woman still wants to. So it's like they're outright just the bad guys. So I was like, actually, you know.
Do you think that people who saw that movie were able to catch on to the message?
They're explicitly the bad guys. It's like she's a woman.
That doesn't necessarily mean people understood it, unfortunately.
So it's like her and her friends. I mean, I think it was well done. Her and they're having a text group, and then someone posts a joke about eating babies or something, and then it gets leaked, and then a conspiracy theory forms about it. So they decide they're going to kidnap and murder anyone who believes the conspiracy. They end up grabbing a woman of the same name as someone else online. She's totally innocent and has nothing to do with anything. It's not political at all. And then she ends up killing them all. So like, I think it was actually well done. She's like, you got the wrong person. I don't care about any of this. She's like, I just want to go home. But, you know, I thought it was, I actually thought it was, maybe the criticism still stands that like at a time when there's this much political division, we shouldn't put out movies that are like that. But it was not a movie where the message overtly was, haha, go hunt and kill conservatives. But that's what the trailer made it look like. So maybe they could have done a better job of that. Yeah. Maybe John Leguizamo could act in part 2 of that. I
There
guess.
you go.
There you go. Here's a job for you.
Yeah, but they got everyone talking about it, so they got everyone.
Right.
No, they canceled
interested.
it. Remember though? Like they pulled it, and then later on they said, okay, we're going to bring the movie back.
Yeah, I don't remember that part of it. I remember hearing about it.
Even Trump was tweeting about it.
What better way to promote a movie than have
right.
the president of the United States tweet at it?
Well, now he can't do that anymore.
Well, yes.
So
Is the verb truths? He truths about
he
it?
truths, I believe. Yeah.
Why did he not name
look.
it trumpet?
Yeah, originally it was going to be
September.
September 27th, and then they said they were canceling it, and then later they brought it back March 13th. Yeah. Yeah, it made money. $14 million budget, $42.8 million revenue.
Well, yeah. Again, the tactic worked then, for one reason or another.
Yeah. There you go. Anyway.
Bit of an aside.
Yeah, it's an aside. Watch the movie. There you go.
What other movies should we watch? Do you have recommendations? Going into the weekend. What are your recommendations?
Going into the weekend, it's Wakanda Forever.
Obviously.
Because it's funny how the woke people are like, "Yay, this movie's so good," and I'm like, "This movie
like
is like
nationalism.
super." Yeah, but like so the
That was
first
the problem with the first one was the nationalism.
the first one was a patriarchal, ultra nationalist country, ethnocentric, ethno nationalist. In order to rule, you had to win trial by combat and be a man. Women weren't allowed to rule. And then the villain was basically an ethno-supremacist who wanted to use their superior weapon to take over the world for their race. It's like, that's an interesting narrative.
It was.
The good guy was Trump. The bad guy was Hitler. And then you have part 2, where this powerful nation wants to mind its own business, and then Mexicans are crossing through the river into the country, wreaking havoc. I'm like, who are they making this movie for?
Who is the writer for this movie? I need to know.
man.
Who is sitting there like, okay, and what should we do next? Okay.
We shouldn't have Namor be Atlantean because of copyright issues. Let's have him be Mexican. And then he breaks into Wakanda, for some reason, a landlocked nation, by crossing the
There's
river.
a border wall. Or
Well, no,
sphere.
like-
I don't know what it is.
Oh, that's funny. It was over copyright reasons that he couldn't be from Atlantis.
I guess the issue was, Brett from Pop Culture Crisis was telling me this, that they didn't want to pay the original creator or like his estate. So by substantively changing Namor to Namor, which was, he was the child without love.
Right.
So in Spanish,
Okay.
she was like, my enemies call me Namor.
Oh.
It's like, okay, dude, no, your enemies don't call you that. One guy called you that 500 years ago.
You're cringing over there. It's making
Yeah,
me laugh.
that's all. I didn't understand. I didn't know about that part. But this is why I don't watch these movies, and I don't watch Lord or what is it, Rings of Power. I will watch other people on YouTube do 5-hour-long reviews of them for sure because I find that entertaining.
I have to imagine though, with like Black Panther, you'll end up with white identitarians and the woke identitarians sitting in the theater together cheering for the same messages.
I saw that with the first one on, on 4chan when the first one came out. There were people, the people who self-identify as Nazis being like, "Oh, we love this. This is great. We've got this ultra-nationalistic movie. Great."
And they're all cheering for it and they love it.
Yes.
And then they're doing that University of California, Santa Barbara is doing a black-only screening.
Right.
There could be some like CIA reverse psychology here, because if you look at a lot of mainline movies, it's usually going against the big evil government or the multinational corporation or some kind of evil villain that wants to reduce the Earth's population for the greater good. I think there might be some kind of psyops here, just again, speculating here totally out of nowhere, of them just being like, we're going to put this in your head just so you don't see it in real life, potentially. I think there's something to think about.
What are they
that.
trying to put in your head?
Or they're trying to put that satisfaction of rebellion in your head so it doesn't come to fruition in real life. Right?
I'll give you an example.
Because that's V for Vendetta. All the movies are like this.
There's a show, we talked about this on a members only
The
show.
Matrix too. There's
a show called The Good Fight. They did an episode, I think it was the finale, where a character based on Milo Yiannopoulos accuses Ron DeSantis by name of sexual assault. And in the show, they are saying over and over again, Ron DeSantis is accused, and here's what the guy's saying. And I thought it was interesting. So we Googled Ron DeSantis, The Good Fight. And what do you find? It's so weird. Ron DeSantis has many interviews where he says, I'm going to keep fighting the good fight. It just so happens a show called The Good Fight comes out where Ron DeSantis is accused of sexual assault. So what happens now when you Google search Ron DeSantis, The Good Fight?
What a vile psyop.
You see posts about sexual assault.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's all just one big coincidence, but man, was that very perfect.
Yeah, that wasn't the craziest aspect of the entire episode. At the end, Donald Trump runs to be president of the United States. And and this is before he announced, but the whole premise of the episode is a terrorist attack by right-wingers that are surrounding this black lawyer firm. There's 20,000 of them outside, and then they stage an attack on them that's going to assassinate all of them as they're shooting machine guns into their building.
And that was actually happening in the show.
That's the plot of the show. The plot of the show is that they're working, and these they wore the same outfits as the Patriot Front. And there's 20,000 of them outside in Chicago causing riots everywhere. And then they stage an attack where they, make sure that they block all the exits. And then they go on the roof and start shooting and trying to assassinate all the children and workers inside of this predominantly all black lawyer office.
What year is this supposed to be taking place in?
This is the last episode of this series that came out it's the same episode as the DeSantis episode.
Right, I know. Are these episodes standalone?
I have no idea.
Like is it an anthology show where every episode is its own contained little mini film?
I think it's a series that continues along the same kind of premise.
How do you do a season after that?
I think that was their season finale.
I know, but the start of the next season is so after Civil War started.
I think it's during a civil war.
Anyway, my point is I think they do these things in media because there's that famous line from Tina Fey where she said, "I can see Russia from my house." And then what happened was a bunch of liberals started saying, Sarah Palin said she can see Russia from her house. No, that was Tina Fey. Sarah Palin said, actually, from the westernmost point of Alaska, you can see Russian territory. And we have to negotiate with Russia because of the strait and trade routes, which is actually an excellent point when you're running for office and explaining that you have to negotiate with Russia now. And then Tina Fey made fun of her in a way that made no sense. And now these people believe that was the actual quote.
So it's called the primacy effect. In terms of whatever people see first is what they tend to believe. And when you have mass media versus some individual news report, people believe what they see first and tend to hold on to that information even after it has been corrected. So one of the really, I guess if you want to go along with all of the beliefs about how bad fake news is, the real problem with fake news, such as it does exist, is that it doesn't matter. There's several studies on this. It doesn't matter if you update the news article. People will remember what they read first. There's a competing theory called the recency effect that people will remember whatever they heard most recently. However, it has far less robust support within the data. The primacy effect is what we see very consistently, that whatever people hear first or see first sticks within their mind, and that's what they recall.
Yep.
So,
is there an emotional bond because of that first initial reaction?
There could be an emotional aspect to it, but it's more that people are just taking in information, going, okay, this is interesting or funny. And if you make it funny, by the way, it's called instructional humor processing theory. And what that finds is that if you're trying to teach something to anybody, make it funny because it increases recall.
I love the conspiracy theory that the government funds movies to block conspiracy theories, like Men in Black, for instance. The conspiracy theory is that Men in Black are real, so they make a movie about it that's very exaggerated and silly. So that way, if anyone ever says, I was visited by Men in Black, they go, like the movie? Oh,
it's an episode of Stargate SG-1, like that, Wormhole Extreme.
Right.
Yeah.
We actually had Corin Nemec here last week. It was super cool.
That's
We talked about it.
awesome.
So actually, the episode of Cast Castle we did was Ian is convinced that Corin is actually Jonas Quinn.
Okay.
And then that's basically the premise. Where it's like, it was funny because when we were writing it, I was like, that's actually an episode of Stargate SG-1. Wormhole Extreme is a TV show because like this, yeah, anyway.
And Supernatural, that was a plot line in Supernatural where God was actually sending divine messages to some kooky guy who wrote books about the actual characters in the show, and et cetera, et cetera. So several shows have played with this theme.
Yeah.
You were telling us about a lot of different theories that you were studying and looking into before we started the show. What's one of the most interesting study that you looked into when it comes to psychology and our current kind of modern day society?
That's such a massive question.
I know. I like to ask these questions.
Well, my favorite ones are mostly deal with parasociality and studying of the internet, how people form fake relationships that they feel are very real with people online. And this can also include characters from media where, because we didn't evolve in a mediated environment, it's very difficult for people to be able to delineate what is a real interaction from what is a fake or pseudo or parasocial interaction. I love that it's a whole broad field, but the parasociality stuff, and particularly now when we have this constant interaction with Twitter and people feel like they know Donald Trump or they feel like they know XYZ person, that can have some very harmful effects as well because, well, what if your internet friend doesn't respond in turn? And there's tons of research that's become very, very popular, almost to the point of bringing it up as probably trite at this point, but
I've
cool.
heard a lot of it referred to with family vloggers and like the concept of putting your kid in danger because people think they have a parasocial relationship with your child who doesn't know anything about it because the concept of the internet is difficult when you're 5.
The idea of family vlogging is horrifying to me because you're putting the child out there and exposing them to this constant deluge of media exposure before they're able to form any kind of sense of self. So
Or consent, really.
They certainly can't consent.
Yeah. Human beings aren't built to be okay with social media.
No.
They aren't built to deal with so much attention, so much feedback, so much comments, so much interactions all at once. We used to be small tribes. That's what our body and mental state is used to being. And I think this is one reason why we're seeing such a huge increase of mental health.
Well, the dopamine system is fried. The dopamine system, it actually, the prolonged exposure to this kinds of stuff constantly, day after day after day, it causes the parts of your brain that produce and regulate dopamine to become eventually unable to continue to produce it at the same level. So people become, just like any other addiction, they become addicted to the substance, in this case dopamine, hit a like, or retweet on Twitter, that kind of thing. At some point, your brain cannot keep stimulating you and feeding you the positive feedback chemical that you want from it, and then it actually physically shrinks in size. Your parts of your brain physically shrink in size because it cannot keep doing this, but you also need more as your body is less able to provide it.
Can you inject dopamine?
Surely.
Does it have the same effect?
I haven't read any studies on that, but I would assume so.
That'd be weird.
That'll probably be like the next big thing.
Like adrenochrome?
Yeah, you got to get the adrenochrome. But I would, with Meta, the proposal of Meta and that VR stuff, it's now every single human sense is being stimulated. Your dopamine systems, the whole dopaminergic system is going to be fried for people. And there's going to be no way for them to get the dopamine that they are so craving because their own body can't produce it anymore.
Yeah.
And once your brain shrinks, your brain shrinks, there's no coming back. It can?
Yeah, sure.
So, is there a treatment for...
Disconnect.
No.
Well, it's the same thing with any other addiction, more or
cults.
less. Yeah.
Well, also, there's also very negative effects, especially when it comes to online pornography. And I think also with things like TikTok becoming more and more popular, this is kind of the larger symptom of a society getting sicker and sicker, needing a quicker dopamine hit, needing a quicker fix, needing a quicker stimulation, just more and more quicker, faster.
TikTok is completely exemplary of that, in that it's 5 to 10 seconds, you get my stimulus and my output, and I'm good to go. And now next, and it never stops.
Yeah. Where do you see this going? Where is society heading, and where's the crash?
Well,
and how does it look like?
Well, in the experiments they did with rats, which is always a good way to start a sentence when you talk about the future of society, in the studies that have been done with rats, for example, they put a electrode in the pleasure center of the brain in rats, and they gave them a little button, and they could just sit there and push the button to stimulate the pleasure center of the brain. They found that, much as with the rat utopia experiment, after a while, they stopped eating, they stopped reproducing, they stopped having sex, they stopped cleaning themselves, to the point where they would just sit there and press the button over and over again until they'd essentially die.
Whoa.
So there's the really horrifying potential future, but let's go meta, right?
Thank goodness that company's failing. Thank goodness they're losing so much money. Don't go on the pods. Don't put on the VR set, please.
Just imagine not knowing what, like, accomplishment is what drives us, right? Getting more likes. We're like feeling a connection to something happening, but it really is just that dopamine release.
There's two forms of pleasure that exist. It's eudaimonia and hedonia. Hedonia is pure physical pleasure, just of feeling good. Eudaimonia is a sense of meaningfulness, and that's what we're losing.
But so, like, I'm imagining if there was a button that could stimulate your brain, you wouldn't know why it was good.
No.
You would just be like, this is great for some reason, and just keep smashing the button.
It's called TikTok.
Yeah, it is. That's it. People
But my
don't
point
know.
is, on TikTok, they're like, I'm seeing someone dance. I'm seeing some social interaction.
Yeah, but do they
I press the
remember it
button.
when they get consumed so much information so quickly? One thing after another thing. Do they really remember it?
The recall is not the part of it that matters. It's the instantaneous dopaminergic stimulation. And again, that's all the hedonia, the eudaimonia, which are things like, again, it's commonly called meaningfulness, of a feeling of accomplishment, a feeling of having done something that's bigger than yourself. When we look, there's longitudinal studies on human happiness, and what we find produces longitudinal human happiness is not pleasure, it's hedonia, it's having children, it's having a home, it's raising a family, it's having relationships, meaningful ones with other people, and that's not dopaminergically stimulating.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.